You are listening to the voice of the frontline protector here at the Private Officer Beat Radio. Every week you'll hear breaking news, topics of training, information for the industry of security, public safety, and law enforcement. So strap in, hang on, we're about to speed off in this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. I am so happy, thrilled that you are here with me today, and, well, to kind of show how appreciative I am, we're going to have an excellent radio show today. We always have an excellent radio show, but we're going to make it a little bit more special just to show you our appreciation for you being here on this very important radio program. We have a lot to talk about. I'm your host, Rick McCann, founder and CEO of Private Officer International and Armour College. Some people don't believe me, but I really am. Private Officer International was founded 18 years ago as a support system for private security officers, and Armour College was founded about 13 years ago as a way for us to advance the training that we'd already been doing for security and public safety officers across the country and worldwide. So there you have it. We really are legit. Today, we got a lot of information that we want to share with you. We want to talk about some breaking news. Obviously, we always have a lot of breaking news. We want to share a couple of stories, and we want to give you a couple of call to action, and we hope that you'll follow through. In fact, one of those calls to action is about a young security officer and former retired law enforcement officer. Bill Mara is an 81-year-old retired law enforcement officer from Union County, Tennessee. Now, that's a rural area, but he spent his life protecting the people of that rural county in Tennessee. And after he retired, he went to work as a security patrol officer for the Signal 88 regional office based in Knoxville, Tennessee. Well, last week we got a sad phone call from the branch manager, Braxton Scrouch, who said that Mr. Miller is an excellent employee. He's always available. He's always willing to go above and beyond. But unfortunately, in May, he had a very serious car accident where a man ran a stop sign and seriously injured Bill. And, in fact, he's bedridden at this time. His health has declined, and his happy-go-lucky attitude has turned into just being sad and melancholy. In fact, I was talking with the branch manager over the weekend, Saturday, and he told me that Bill has gone to a rehabilitation facility because he cannot walk. And we're calling you to action right now because we want to lift, and I promised the operations manager of Signal 88 in Knoxville that not only would my association members, but my radio station listeners, my followers, the POI family, our followers on social media, and the companies that I'm involved in would all get together and we would do a Get Well campaign. And so I'm going to ask you right now to grab a pen and write down this information. Grab a couple of inspirational cards, Get Well cards, and send them to Bill Mara, M-A-R-R-A, care of Signal 88 Security, 5410 Homburg Drive, H-O-M-B-E-R-G Drive. That's in Knoxville, Tennessee, good old Tennessee, 37919. Now, Mr. Bill, 81 years old, still serving and protecting the public today. And he would have nothing stand in the way of doing this, and he can't wait to get back on his feet, to put back on the uniform and go out and do the job that he loves to do. He loves to be with people. He loves to crack jokes. He's that kind of guy, and he's my kind of guy, and I hope he's your kind of guy. Lift him up in prayer. Remember him in thought. But most of all, please, it doesn't have to be an expensive gift card or an inspirational card. You can go to Dollar Tree. You can get them for $1 each. You can buy 10 for $10 and send them out. Bill Mara, M-A-R-R-A, care of Signal 88 Security, 5410 Homburg Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. And that's Homburg, not hamburger, Homberg Drive. I'm sure he'll just feel so much better, and he'll really appreciate the little kindness that you show to him. Please take a few moments out of your busy schedule and do that right now. And when you do, let us know that you're sending out the cards. I've even had some people take photos of the card and send it to us. That'll be great. You want to take a photo and send it to us? Send it to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Let me just say this. This is not a once-in-a-lifetime thing that we do. This is not something that we do just every now and again. This is something we do all of the time. We award people for their good work. We lift up people when they're ill, when they've been injured on the job. That's one of the big things that we do at Private Officer International, and we don't charge people. I'm talking to a friend of mine today on the phone, and, I told him, we have to help this man. Please get all of your employees on board. Please get all of your friends on board, family. They don't know him, but it's just the right thing to do right now. And we do that a lot. We send out awards. We recognize people all the time, and it's not for money. We don't charge for it. We're not asking anyone to donate. We're not setting up any of those, pages where you have to go to and donate 10, 20, 30, 50. No. In fact, I don't think there's any fundraising going on for him at all. Please help us to recognize others on the front line who are putting their life on the line and doing great things. Please help us to recognize those people and lift people up who are ill, sick, injured. Be part of Private Officer International. If you're not already a member, please go to our website at privateofficer.org. Sign up today. Become a member. You can be a lifetime member right now for just $99. There's going to be a lot of benefits, more than 40 benefits. And you can also be part of our benevolent team, our committees, and so much more just by being a member. We are going to take a quick break, but we got a lot of information that we want to share with you. We started off on the training aspect last week's program, talking about slowdown, and we got sidetracked and talked about a different subject, but we're going to pick that slow down thought up later on in this program. We'll be right back.
Up together. He got his license when he was 16. We were going to the beach, and Luke was driving. I was in the passenger seat, and all of a sudden, I don't remember anything. I wasn't conscious for it. We got hit by a drunk driver. I feel like I knew right away that it was never going to be the same. I don't know. The doctors, they were telling me I was so lucky to be alive. When I found out that he died on impact, I didn't really feel lucky. And sometimes I still don't. Drinking and driving is completely unnecessary, and I think it's selfish if you do it. it's not worth taking that risk because you never know what's going to happen.
More than 114,000 people are waiting on an organ transplant at any given time in the U.S., and at least 80% of those are waiting for a kidney.
For kidneys, it largely defaults to waiting time, but for livers, hearts, and lungs, it's largely based on the degree of illness and how sick someone is, and that defines their priority on the waiting list.
Dr. Charles Rosen, director of the Transplant Center at Mayo Clinic, says living donors can help save people waiting for a kidney or a liver, but those waiting for other organs, unfortunately, have to wait for a deceased donor. Dr. Rosen says if you're interested in saving another person's life with your organs after you die, it's important to sign up as a donor now while you're still alive to save your family from having to make a difficult decision at a difficult time.
We've heard from donor families or potential donor families that decided not to donate because it was such a stressful time in their lives that then 3-6 months later they felt some remorse for not doing that.
For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Ian Ross.
Body Armor USA, we've got what it takes to protect you, and there's no doubt about that. That's a fact. Looking for body armor, protective clothing, gloves, stab-resistant vests. Maybe you work in the correction industry. We have it all. Check us out today at Body Armor USA. We have what it takes to protect you. This week, we're talking about slowing down, and we're talking about use of force and de-escalation and mental health. We'll get to that at the bottom of this hour, but right now we have a lot of other interesting topics that we want to talk about, and of course, just a whole lot of breaking news. Oftentimes we have to talk about the bad and the weird news. We have to talk about officers being arrested, and we certainly do have plenty of those to unfortunately talk about again in today's program. But I do want to mention a news story coming out of Eugene, Oregon. This was during the Lane County Fair, and this occurred over the weekend, I believe. There was a lot of people, and someone came running up to the security officer, one of the security officers on duty, and let him know there was a fight. A couple of people involved, or someone was being robbed, or something was going on, and he ran immediately to the scene. And when he got there, he was told that a teenager was robbing people and assaulting them, and he had a gun. The security officer, he didn't think twice. Brian Haida, instantly found that man and immediately subdued him, taking away the gun and holding him until other officers working at the fair could arrive. He said that he pinned the suspect down. As he was pinning down the suspect, he fired one shot. The suspect fired one shot, but it ricocheted off the ground and hit a civilian. The bullet went through a civilian's arm, but they're going to be fine. Spectators, bystanders, fair goers credited the security officer with quick action to stop a possible act of shooting, and also said that he did not take time to think about his own safety, which often happens. We have a lot of good security people out there doing great work. They just don't get the recognition that they should, and that's why Private Officer International was formed anyways to begin with back 18 years ago. We see it all the time, and that's one of the reasons why we put together a news department so that we could track down all of the news that's happening here in this industry, along with those public safety officers and law enforcement officers that do great work. So we're going to be contacting this gentleman and hopefully be able to present him with an award. And again, if you know of someone who's jumped into action like this young man, somebody who may have used CPR to save a life, somebody who's just an overall good employee, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, because we want to bring attention to people like that. You know, a couple of other news stories this week wasn't so complimentary. In Cincinnati, Ohio, a contract security officer working at a healthcare center has been arrested and charged with rape of a patient. Terry Hobbs, 42, which was employed by a contract security company called ESP Ohio Security, has been arrested. 42-year-old man arrested and charged with forcible rape. When you go to the hospital, of course, you're thinking, I'm going to go to get better. I'm there to have medical procedures. I'm not thinking I'm going to get attacked by the security guard who's supposed to be there to protect me. And unfortunately, that did happen. But that wasn't the only place. Unfortunately, in Houston, Texas, this past week, a security guard who pretended to be a police officer pulled over a woman in a church parking lot late at night. The victim thought that he was a Houston police officer. He demanded that she get out of her car and get into his fake patrol unit, and when she did, he raped her in the back seat. Police investigating was able to track down the man, later identified as a local security guard. The man's name is Martin Hernandez. He's been charged with police impersonation, sexual assault, and kidnapping. Again, we don't like to bring these stories. We don't want to talk about the bad news, but unfortunately, they happen every day. Another news story, not so good. A woman security officer who was just going off duty is charged with vehicular manslaughter after she hit a pedestrian with her vehicle and critically injured another person in Huntington Beach, California. Shilandra Delania Bell, driving on Coast Highway when she ran a red light, struck a man and a woman in the crosswalk, killing the man. She is currently in jail, being held on a $100,000 bond. People, think before you act. Think before you do something. So much news comes across our desk, much of it very disappointing. But like I said, there's a lot of good security personnel, a lot of good law enforcement, a lot of good public safety officers doing a lot of great work. So we want to make sure that they get their due as well. Please send their information to us at the help desk, privateofficer.com. What else do we got going on? We've got the Private Officer Memorial Service coming up again this year. We took last year off because of COVID, but again this year. If you would like to participate or sponsor an event, please contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. This is a great way to not only participate, but also to introduce your community to what private security really is, what they really do, and why it's important for them to get involved. Showcasing the Private Officer Memorial events over the many years that we have has been really a great tool for the security companies in the area, a great marketing tool for POI. It really is an eye-opener when people get involved, and really that's why I love doing it. So many people don't know what security today is about. They don't know what they do. They don't know all of the inside information on how they protect others, how they risk their lives, and that's why we love doing it. If you're interested, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. I've been talking about the Command Staff College for several months now, and we are in session 1, and we are having a great time. A lot of fine folks in the classroom, and it's interactive. Session 2, believe it or not, is just around the corner, as is back to school for the kiddos. A lot of areas, the kids are going back to school coming up in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks they'll be back. But our Command Staff College will have Session 2 coming out in the fall. If you're interested in registering, send an email to admissions@armourcollege.org. We have a discount for our POI members. We have a discount for non-members. It's really a great all-around management program I think that you would benefit from. And talking about great benefit, we still have those 3 courses for just $199. Go to our website at armourcollege.org. Those 3 courses for $99, you can't get any cheaper than that. Those specials will be going off the special list in just a few days. So go now and sign up. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we got a lot more information, news, and we're talking about slow down, stop, look, listen, feel, understand before you jump in. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
For a minute, I'm a high school math teacher, and I'm a firefighter.
Sam, we're going to have you out in just a minute, okay?
I'm a designer.
I'm a retired VP in business.
And I'm a student.
I'm a mother.
I'm a business analyst, and I'm a volunteer firefighter.
You thought we just fought fire?
Firefighters get trained to do so many things.
Right here. Be sharp.
What we do is serious business.
Three-quarters of the nation's first responders are volunteers. That includes here in Connecticut. And lately, it's been harder than ever, with fewer citizens volunteering.
From teenage cadets like me,
to seasoned veterans like me.
So what are you waiting for?
You ready to make a difference?
Ready to join our team?
Your community needs you. We need you. Visit everydayheroct.org or stop by your local firehouse today and take the first step of joining your fire department.
From coast to coast, cops are cracking down on seatbelt violations. Buckle up day and night or expect a ticket. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live. They'll be on the lookout. Cops write tickets to save lives. Click it for ticket.
Welcome back to the Private Officer Beat Radio. Glad you hung in there because we got a lot of great items yet to share with you. We get quite a few emails asking us whether or not they should take the vaccination for COVID. As you know, this is a hot-button topic nationwide. As a EMS provider, paramedic, EMT, firefighter for since 1977, I've seen viruses and things come along that require a vaccine, the flu being one of those. Of course, this is a decision that is completely in your hands. I cannot tell you what to do, what not to do. I can tell you that, despite what information you might be hearing, much of it is negative. Vaccine has, since day one, since the first initial vaccine was introduced into America. And if anyone knows what that vaccine is, send the info to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. The first vaccine in the U.S. actually was used to protect against smallpox. And that was in 1798. And there have been dozens and probably even hundreds that have been developed since then. It is very important that when you're working with the public that you do whatever it takes to protect yourself, whether that be wear a full face mask, gloves, a face shield, whatever it might be. I know in our profession, security, law enforcement, EMS, these days you really don't know who it is that you're coming across. You don't know where they've been. You don't know if they have hepatitis. You don't know if they have AIDS. You don't know if they have COVID. You don't know if they have multiple other diseases. There is a new disease called monkeypox, although that's not really new. It is new here in the U.S. It has come from African nations. The CDC says over 200 cases reported in recent months. This was developed in the laboratory using monkeys. I don't know that, but I know that it was at one time pretty well kept in the African nations, and we didn't really see much of it in the U.S. Now there's a breakout, especially in several states, and there are viruses and diseases that occur all the time. My friend, if you don't want to take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. My own suggestion for my staff and for myself and for those that I care about is please do take it. Nothing is 100%. Nothing will work 100%. This is not a guarantee. You take the flu shot and you get the flu. But it will help. And vaccines over the years have proven not only to help, but to annihilate, to get rid of, to destroy vaccines. And that's just the truth of the matter. So this is a personal choice. You're going to have to decide, but working in public safety, being, in front of so many people, I would recommend that you do. We have a topic tonight that we're going to be talking about in just a minute, but in the meantime, I do want to remind you about Frontline Protectors TV. We have our own network coming out soon. We really need your body cam video, any video that you have on security officer interactions. There's a lot of video out there on Facebook. There's a lot of video on YouTube, a lot of video in the news. You might see it. We don't see it. Please send it to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Helpdesk@privateofficer.com. All right. For just a couple of minutes, I just want to share a couple of things with you as we prepare for our mental health emergency response program, which is coming out in September. I want to go through a couple of things that have been brought out numerous times in the mental health training that I've been taking, as well as the new use of force de-escalation models that are coming out all across the nation, as both law enforcement, security, as well as medical provider, EMS firefighter. I am not only in tune with the training, but I am involved, engaged, and sometimes mandated to take it, so I do. We are seeing in the training modules 3 key areas that they want us to look at differently than just a month ago or a year ago. And I've added a 4th one. So we're going to talk about those areas, those 4 areas that I have put together, 3 that they recommend. The 4th one I kicked in there because I think it's important. Number 1, they are asking us to slow down in our decision making. As I alluded to last week in the radio program before I got off on a different topic, oftentimes when we get into a situation, we do have to expedite our response. We do have to expedite our decision making. We do have to, expedite our assessment of the situation. And sometimes we use force when it wasn't exactly necessary. We could have slowed down. We could have waited a few minutes. We could have assessed it better, but we use force. There's a video circulating right now coming out of Philadelphia, an Allied Universal Security officer, was at a SERPTA station, which is the light rail. He had some type of verbal altercation with a man. We now know that the man jumped the turnstile and didn't pay for the fare. The security officer was doing his job, and he approached the man, and you can plainly see on the video that the man took a fighting stance, and as this began to escalate even more, he then reached into something that was hung around his chest. It looked like a bag or some type of pouch of some type. And at that point, the security officer hit the suspect, the subject, in the face, knocked him down, and that was good. I think that he could justify the use of force at that point, but what happened was he then hit the man repeatedly about 4 more times, and then he fled the scene before police got there. He didn't want to be identified. He didn't want to engage with law enforcement. He didn't want to tell his side of the story. That sounds a little bizarre, a little strange, especially if you think you are justified. Why run? This makes it look bad for him. De-escalation in this situation, I don't think was proper. I think the use of force, I think he was justified in the onset. As I told someone when I first saw the video, we weren't there. There's no audio. I can't hear really what happened. I know that there's some type of back and forth. The security officer, according to the media reports and SERPTA police, they identified a man as somebody who didn't pay for getting on the train. He jumped the turnstile. Okay, so a crime has been committed. Petty larceny at very best. However, the man did take a fighting stance when he was approached, and he did reach into some type of bag or pouch. He could have been pulling out a gun, a knife, a weapon. We don't know. And we don't know what that security officer was feeling. So in that situation, he took immediate action to protect himself. As I was talking to someone about this, I said, what do you want the security officers to do? Turn and run tail? Maybe they should have. Maybe that would have de-escalated the whole thing. But in his case, he had a legal right to defend himself. But where he messed up, or where I believe he messed up, is where he began to repeatedly punch the man once he was knocked down, and then he fled the scene as if he was guilty of a crime. There are 4 areas in today's new world of use of force. Let's talk about that slowdown aspect. It is important sometimes before we go into a scene to really size it up. In fire and EMS, we've talked about this. I've talked over and over again about how in fire and EMS, we don't rush into the scene, even if it's a structure fire. I had a car rollover the other day that I responded to, and people were screaming, there's 2 people trapped, there's people trapped. We're not going to run up to the scene and get hurt ourselves. So in fire and EMS culture, we do a complete scene size up. We're looking for anything that's dangerous to us, chemicals, fire, wires down, even people that might hurt us. We're going to do a complete scene size up. Slow down. Even if we ran to the vehicle and try to punch out the windows and pull them in, our size up is only going to take a few seconds. We need to have our security personnel do the same thing. Maybe that security officer at the station, at the rail station, could have stepped back. Maybe he didn't have to use force, but I'm sure he felt that he did. Again, we don't know what people are feeling. We don't know the fear that might be going through their mind. We don't know. Maybe that gentleman said he was going to kill the security officer. We do not know. We know that there was a crime. The man took a fighting stance. But sometimes it is best if we slow down. Do a scene size up when we come into a situation. Slow down when we arrive. In the mental health training that I've been taking, they bring up several good points. If the man is screaming and yelling I'm going to kill you. I'll kill you. Get away. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. But you don't see a gun. He might have the means, the motive, and the opportunity, but he may not. And if he's not really a threat to you, why use force? Another word that I want you to write down and put it in your head, store it in your mind, is the totality. Totality is playing a very large part in today's criminal prosecution of private security and law enforcement. What the courts and the prosecutors are saying is that you have to look at the totality of the situation before you decide to use any level of force. Again, I'll use the example at the train station. The totality of the situation. We had a very minor crime. In fact, it probably was just a criminal summons, a citation, maybe at best, because he jumped the turnstile. The man then took a fighting stance. Well, that escalates it as far as I'm concerned. If the man would have stood there and taken his punishment and said, okay, you're right, I did wrong, give me a ticket, whatever, and gone about his business, we wouldn't be talking about this today. But he took a fighting stance. That was where I believe the security officer should have been prepared to defend himself. Now, this security officer was unarmed. He had no less lethal and no lethal. Had he had pepper spray or a taser, he might have been able to use that first. I certainly could see justification in the use of pepper spray when somebody takes a fighting stance against me. That is imminent threat, imminent danger. And what am I going to do? I'm going to stand there and wait until he pounces on me and puts me... No. That's not going to happen. The totality of the situation should direct you. It should guide you as to what type of force, if any, might be used. We all know about the force continuum. We all know about the different types of force programs that have been introduced over the years for both security and law enforcement. In this situation, we have to look at the totality of the situation. It was a minor infraction. The man took a fighting stance. Could we have backed up? We possibly could. But did we have to? The totality of the situation escalated when the man took a fighting stance. The totality of the situation escalated even more when he reached into a bag where he could have had a gun, a knife, or some other weapon, and we have a right to defend ourselves before that weapon is taken out. Many people in the justice system is now calling that a preemptive strike. We are preempting. We're doing it too early, in other words. We're looking at the situation, and then in our mind, we're guessing what's coming next, and we're going to prevent that. It's kind of like the football game. And they are pushing back on that. They're saying you can't use force just because you think someone's going to use force against you. You have to be 100% certain, and you base that on the totality of the situation. So the totality of the situation changes. It evolves as you stand there. It continues. And in this situation, it changed 3 times. Number 1, the man was stopped. He was aggressive verbally. Number 2, he took a fighting stance. And number 3, he reached into a bag where there might have been a weapon. We have to do differently in today's America. That's just how it is. Will officers be injured? Yes, they will. Will officers get killed? They are being killed, both security and law enforcement. There's no question about that. Where do we go from here? What do we do? As security officers, we have to decide, our company really has to decide whether or not they want us to use force. And if they don't want you to use force, they shouldn't put you in a situation where you may have to use force at some point or the other. I don't believe that security companies are justified when they put employees into situations that they know are dangerous. I didn't say the word could be dangerous. I said are dangerous. Many security companies take accounts like this SERPTA, which is the Philadelphia Light Rail. they know the dangers are there. There are fights on the platforms, there are fights on the trains, but here's what really escalates that danger is that many times the light rail in many areas, Arizona, St. Louis, and others that I know of, when they're using non-sworn personnel, security officers, to write tickets for turnstile violations, for other violations on the rail system, they're writing a ticket unarmed. This is really putting the security officer in a very dangerous situation. I don't think it's justified. I don't think that when you put one person unarmed to do law enforcement type work, that you can stand back and go, oh, I didn't know that was going to be dangerous. That's like these people today, and I almost slipped just then with the word, but that's like these people today who are trying to deploy unarmed civilians to do traffic stops and write traffic citations, moving violation citations. They're unarmed, very little training, no equipment, no gun, no defensive tactics, but they want them to be on the street, and they think that's going to eliminate the confrontations and the shootings involving motor vehicle violations and law enforcement. That's bizarre. I have other words for it, but I can't say them. In today's America, security officers have to slow down going into the scene. You got to do a scene size up. You got to look around, and you have to make a decision whether or not you want to continue moving forward, or do you want to back out and just call the police and let them take care of it. Observe and report in some situations may not be a bad thing. You have to decide. That's all up to you. You have to look at the totality of the situation. What do you know? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What were you told? You and only you can make that judgment call. I can't make it looking at a video or reading a news report. Your manager, owner of the company cannot look at the situation 24 hours later and justify or criticize or be negative or positive. He has to look at, okay, this was a bad situation. This was a bad location. I got an unarmed person in a nightclub where we've had stabbings, we've had so many fights, we've lost count. The police don't even want to work there. The totality of the situation will direct us and guide us in the use of force. There are three particular and different circumstances when a police or a security officer uses force. One is for immediate defense of the officer or of others. He doesn't know going into the situation that the man has mental health, that the man is intoxicated, that the gun isn't real. He knows that there is a man with a gun, that he's threatening to kill others, and the police officer has to use reasonable force, deadly or otherwise, to stop this man from hurting or killing the officer and others. Immediate defense of the officer or others. It happens a lot. We can stand back on Monday morning quarterback. We can try to be all Einstein and professor and say, oh, he should have done that and he should have done this and he was wrong and blah, blah. You weren't there. You didn't know. You didn't see. You didn't feel. You didn't hear. It's just mind-boggling how people can do this on social media every day and every night. The second time when officers use force in arrest. Now, generally, I would say that this includes security officers, but now I can't really say that across the board because some states no longer allow security officers to make private person arrest or security arrest. Some companies do not allow employees, private security personnel, to make arrests. And so it's all up to your employer and the law of the state. But the use of force to effect an arrest must be legal, lawful, and reasonable. If the man slaps and pushes you and you tase him, that might not be legal, lawful, or, the right amount of force. Maybe too much. That's why it's very important to understand the changing times and to understand what the law of your land is. Security officers and police officers can use force to effect an arrest when and where it's legal. It must be reasonable, and it must be within justification of the totality of the situation. Obviously, if the man has a knife and you tase him, that would be justified. He has a knife and you shoot him, that probably also would be justified. We have a question on Facebook. It's asking what percentage of security officer use of force is justified? And we've had this question before. I believe it was 2017, 2018. We put out a report. We are working on another one. From the estimate that I have from my office crew, my team, we asked the people in the news staff and our office team, the help desk people, and they went through some rough figures, and they said about 67% of force used by security is legal and justified, and the rest is not. But we'll have hard numbers for you coming up in a few weeks. I do know that the use of force by security, the rise, we talked about, the security officer arrested for 4 counts of attempted murder just last week, and others who have also been arrested for murder this year. But we'll have hard figures for you coming up. And the third time that security personnel and police use force is when a person is trying to flee an arrest, especially in a vehicle. Now, there are multiple law enforcement agencies that no longer allow officers to shoot into a moving vehicle, and yet they still do. We can try to justify, that the person was trying to run us over, and sometimes that is true, but it's not always correct. We do have a chance to jump out of the way sometimes, and we are supposed to take that opportunity if it does present itself. The 3 circumstances when officers use force: immediate defense of themselves or others, use of force to effect an arrest, and use of force in an escape or attempted escape of somebody who is being arrested. Remember, it is very important to take that word totality to heart and to really look at what it means and apply it to each situation, the totality of the situation. Don't get yourself in trouble. We have a lot more to talk about. We have a lot more coming up over the next few weeks. We'll be talking more about the mental health training program. In closing, if you have any suggestions or comments, if you want to share your experiences with other security officers, if you want to ask questions, contact us, helpdesk@theprivateofficer.com. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. That's going to be all for this radio show. Thank you for being with us. We're going to sign off with a be well, God bless, and we'll see you back here on the radio.